So we're back here on the Duncan Duo Show talking about the Tampa Bay real estate market. If you are someone who is selling your home right now, listen up because this is some great advice for you about how to prepare yourself for the appraisal process. This is something that a lot of people don't prepare for, and you know, there are details that are missed or important information not relayed. And I have to tell you that it's one of the most important parts of the process of getting your home closed. You know, when you get your home sold, aka you get it under contract with someone, it's still got to get to the closing table. And the appraisal process, in addition to the inspection process, are the two things that are most likely to blow the deal up. So listen up. We're going to give you some great tips and great insight into how to get through that process, whether you're selling your home with us or not. If you're not selling your home with us, too bad. You should have. But if you are selling your home with us, great. It's great advice for you. If you're thinking about selling your home in the future, this is definitely valuable information. So the first thing is doing your homework. You know, you want to make sure that you know and have the information available about your home to answer questions. And I think I put the onus on the seller here because the agent has a lot of information, but I'm a firm believer that the agent attending the appraisal is a bad idea. I believe the seller should attend the appraisal and not the agent. The reason, unless there's something really, really unique about the home, which most sellers think their home is really, really unique, but I'm talking like something just so obscure and uncommon. But the reality is that the appraiser and real estate agent butt heads far too often, and egos get in the way. And I'm not saying that for all appraisers. There's some fantastic ones that work great with real estate agents. But historically, we've wanted to tell them how to do their job, and they've wanted to tell us how to do our job. And it can come off the wrong way when another professional is there either questioning the comps or telling them to notice something. So it comes off as, you know, self-interest. You know, you want your money, the agent wants their commission. They want to make sure the home sells. Whereas from the homeowner, it comes off as proud homeowner. You know, this is my house, I'm proud of it, I did all these things, I want to make sure you notice it.
Yeah, and it would be like anybody showing up to anybody else's job, explaining to them, you know, why they needed to do certain things and why they didn't, and why they need to use these comps and why they don't need to use that comps. And it does become very hard, you know, even after the fact, you know, sometimes if appraisals come in low, a seller will say, well, are you going to challenge this? Well, I think I've seen one appraisal ever changed in my entire real estate career.
I've seen more than one. There has been more than one, but it's rare.
Well, think about
it's
how many
usually,
homes we sell.
I know it's a really uncommon thing to do. A lot of people think, oh, they use the wrong. I mean, it's got to be a glaring thing that's missed.
Yeah, the thing I saw was the square footage was wrong.
And we've seen them where, like, we've been able to argue comps, like if it's in a different school district and they use the wrong comp if they were from out of town. You know, so but it's really rare.
Well, and truthfully, as far as the seller actually explaining things to the appraiser and showing them around the property, there is no way, and I promise you, and this is not a slight on myself, but there is no way I will ever know your house as well as you.
Correct.
There's no way I will ever be able to tell all the intricacies, and a lot of stuff that you have upgraded in your home, it might still look similar to a home that doesn't have those upgrades, but it might be something that you can easily explain to the appraiser. And tour them around like you toured me around when you showed me the property. I mean, really show off those features that you paid a lot of money for.
And I think in addition to showing off what they can see, show them what they can't see.
Right.
Is there a new AC handler? Is there, you know, work on the foundation? Did they notice the spa? Because again, you're going to come off as a proud homeowner. Have your receipts and records as well, like you've done it. If you've done any additions, make sure you have things permitted. Prior to the appraisal, check up on your maintenance schedule. Because appraisers, just like home inspectors, can red flag a house for condition. They can notice something about the condition that if they put in their report, the lender will not want to finance the property. So if you've got a loose shingle, if you've got something that doesn't look right, fix it. You want the house to look as good as it possibly can for that. So check up on all of your maintenance to make sure it's all, you're on top of your game. Maximizing your curb appeal, because again, you want to make sure that the home shows nicely for the appraiser. You want them to have a warm, accepting excitement about the home. You want them to think it's beautiful so that they put it on the higher end of the comp scale.
Yeah, and they say that landscaping can affect your home's value up to 10%, and I do believe that. If you're a house, and you might have the interior of your house fantastic, and it's funny because my wife and I redid the last house we were in, and the front yard was the last thing that we did, and I think that I've never met so many neighbors as when I redid the front yard of the house.
You should have done it first, basically.
Well, that's what we did on this
Yeah.
house. But people look at the house differently when the yard is done. The house all of a sudden looks like it's maintained, like it's well lived in, like it's taken care of. And appraisers give you value for that.
Yeah, the one thing to also understand is understand the difference between cost and value. So something may have cost you something, that doesn't mean it's going to add you that much value. So if you did $50,000 kitchen renovation, it's not going to add $50,000. You know, we've had home sellers where they got a $200,000 house, and then they come in and say, I want $280,000 for it because I spent $50,000 on the kitchen, and $20,000 in landscaping, and $10,000 on this. So my value plus all these upgrades is $280,000. It's not. It's the difference in cost and value, because an appraiser is going to give you value, not cost.
Like a pool.
Correct. Yeah, a pool is not going to give you in value what it costs.
And actually, if you're in a neighborhood where everybody has pools and it's expected in the neighborhood, I mean, it's really not going to give you anything.
Right. In some instances, if it's like that, and you have a home that doesn't have a pool, the home that doesn't have a pool might get a premium because people might want a yard, you know. So there are some variances there. Another thing to consider about the appraisal, you know, showing pride and ownership. I kind of touched on that a little bit. Make sure they know that you're proud about your home. And I think, you know, I'm a natural salesperson. Not everyone is a natural salesperson, but as a natural salesperson, I'm looking for ways to build rapport with that person and common ground. So I would tell you, once you know the appraiser's name, look, there's nothing wrong with you looking the appraiser up on Facebook and finding out, you know, things they like or don't like, and then mentioning them. You know, hey, you know, I notice you're a Gators fan. I am too. Build rapport and common ground with them. I'm not saying it makes a difference, but it makes that process a little bit smoother and easier.
We are not advocating stalking the appraiser.
Yeah. Well, maybe we are.
Yeah.
No, but no, like build some common ground. If you see a license plate on their car that is similar, if you have a similar belief system of them, if you drive the same kind of car, if they're wearing a particular team, you know, shirt, you know, don't be afraid to include them in conversation, because here's why it matters. Okay, and I firmly believe this. You can read USPAP, which is basically the appraisal standard guidelines. It's called USPAP. You can read that all day long, and you're not going to see anything in there about this. But humans are humans. Okay, if you have a conversation and build a little bit of a relationship with them, show a little bit of care about them, you might get the benefit of the doubt. Just like if you were dealing with an attorney or a real estate agent or a doctor, build some common ground with them. Be nice to them. Smile, shake their hand, bake them some cookies. You know, whatever, just be nice, and you'd be surprised at how far that goes, because let's say that appraiser, and again, USPAP doesn't say this happens, and no appraiser is going to admit that this happens, but I promise you it does. Let's say they see the contract price at $260, they run all their comps, and the comps come out at $259,600. Do you think that there's maybe in a little bit of the back of their mind, a couple of tweaks here and there, and oh, we got 260, you know? But if you're, burning jerk face to them, are you going to get the benefit of the doubt on that? So I firmly believe that, like, by paying it forward in the golden rule, being nice to people, building some rapport, showing some interest in them as a person, you're personalizing that process for them, where they're not just appraising a person anymore, they're appraising a house and a situation. They know that the number that they put on that paper affects your life. And if you're nice and they seem to have a genuine interest in you, then I believe they're more likely to err in the benefit of doubt for you, because they feel in alignment with you. And I think that's just human nature.
Yeah, and the best thing to explain to everybody out there is the appraiser does have the contract price, which is actually a really good thing. They have a target to get to. I know a lot of sellers will meet with us and they'll say, well, do you think I should get an appraisal now? Well, my answer to that is no.
It really doesn't matter. Yeah.
99 times out of 100, unless you have a mega luxury house.
Right, okay? Then it makes some sense, because you want to be able to justify value.
Well, people are a lot of times coming in with cash, and they appreciate the appraisal. But as far as a regular standard homeowner, no, I don't expect you to get an appraisal, and I don't want you to, because the buyer can't use that appraisal. It's that appraiser's opinion to value. They have no contract that they're trying to get to. Most of the time, it's wildly inaccurate, and that also goes for a lot of times sellers.
And you also don't know if that appraisal will follow the same standards that lender.
Absolutely, and a lot of times sellers will say, "Oh, well, I just had an insurance appraisal done." Well, that's totally different.
It's completely different. That's rebuild costs. Yeah. They're not even calculating the land.
I mean, the best thing that you can do is rely on your agent for a CMA before you list the property. Go over market value with them. market the property at the correct value, and then the buyer's lender will do an appraisal under contract.
You know, and like you said, the 1 out of 100 circumstances are when the home is really unique or ultra luxury. And you know, when I say really unique, every homeowner thinks their house is really unique. But
Well,
I'm talking like something completely out of the ordinary, where you also where you think there's going to be challenges to your price. You could sometimes get an appraisal in hopes that when the bank appraisal gets hired, you can send him that appraisal and he'll use it. He probably won't. He might, but you know, it's for those unique circumstances where the market is hard to determine.
Yeah, and I think if an agent's coming in and they're realistic with you and they're saying, you know what, this home is practically impossible to do a CMA in our market. There's just so many unique features and there's nothing comparable to this. I think that's when the agent needs to advise you to do it.
Correct. Yeah, I agree. Like custom home, luxury homes, multi-million-dollar homes, those it makes a ton of sense to do. Because then you're also dealing with a more discriminating buyer that needs to be proven that price is realistic, and it can't easily be determined. I mean, there are neighborhoods you and I know. I mean, I could rattle off a dozen neighborhoods right now that if you told me on a scale of 1 to 10 the condition of the home, I could get the price within a percentage point just by looking at data. You know, I mean, and in some of them I know the price per square foot of the neighborhood that I could get it off the top of my head.
Yep.
But that doesn't happen with really high-end homes. So we're going to continue this conversation. You know what we're going to talk about next? We've got one more segment. We're going to talk about our featured properties and open houses and so much more after a quick break here on the Duncan Duo Show.